One of the most misunderstood things about scholarly writing is the relationship between the writer's ideas and the ideas of others. Hang out with me for a few minutes, and I'll do my best to shed some light on the conversation. It wasn't until my third year in college as an English major that I was introduced to the idea of writing as a conversation. Rather than writing as an act of having my opinion, belief, or argument only seen as valid if and only if someone with greater authority than me had the same opinion, belief, or argument. I saw the research process as a means to authenticate what I thought. That's my fancy way of saying to back up what I say. But it turns out that writing as a conversation is a very different approach. The idea of the conversation in academic writing actually has a long-standing history. In his 1941 book titled Philosophy of Literary Form, literary critic and rhetorician Kenneth Burke demystifies the way academic writing works by likening it to an unending conversation. Burke describes it like this. Imagine you enter a lounge where folks are debating an issue. You come late. When you arrive, others have long preceded you. And the discussion is too heated for them to pause and tell you exactly what it is all about. In fact, the discussion had already begun long before any of them got there. So no one is present, qualified to retrace for you all of the steps that have gone on before. You listen for a while until you decide that you have caught the tenor of the argument. Then you put in your oar. Someone answers. You answer them. Another comes to your defense. Another aligns themselves against you, to either the embarrassment or the gratification of your opponents, depending on the quality of your allies' assistance. However, the discussion is unending. The hour grows late. You must depart, and you do depart, with the discussion still vigorously in progress. One of my favorite things about Burke's metaphor is how he highlights an important move that's often neglected, not only in writing, but also in personal communication and conversation. We're often in such a hurry to reply that we forget to take the time to listen. Sometimes that compulsion to reply prevents us from understanding the specifics and the nuances of the conversation that has been going on before us. And we end up replying to our own misrepresentation of the conversation rather than the actual conversation. I'm sure you can see how this might get in the way of having a constructive dialogue. So a big part of academic literacy is in listening deeply. Listening to understand multiple points of view and the historical evolution of those points of view. This is what scholars do through reading, research, and eventually writing when they are ready to respond. This conversational approach to reading and writing is the basis for how academic writing works. We listen deeply to the existing conversation, the existing body of knowledge. To show our listeners that we've done that, we might repeat or summarize what they've said. We do the same thing for our readers to show them what conversation we've been listening to, and eventually the conversation to which we want to contribute. We summarize that conversation. This brings me to my main point. The best academic writing is framed as a response to the conversation that has come before us. So scholarly ideas don't exist in a vacuum. And when we respond, our aim is to explain why we agree with what's been said before, ideally by adding something new to the conversation, or to explain why we disagree with what's been said before. Or some combination of both, where we might agree in part but disagree in part at the same time. All of that happens through discovering and presenting new evidence, new data, and thoughtful, convincing analysis. This is a value that is common across all genres of academic writing. Speaking of genres, that's the topic for my next video in this series. I'll see you there once you've had a chance to contemplate the idea of the conversation and how it might have an impact on the next time you want to write or debate an issue. If this video has been of any value to you, I'll hope you'll give it a thumbs up with a like and consider sharing it with anyone whom you think might be interested. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video about genres.